bisexual people of Reddit, what are the biggest differences between having a relationship with a man and with a woman? With most of the women I dated, gifts/acts of kindness were an everyday thing. Like, I'd make an extra stop for something they liked, and it wouldn't be a big deal to them. Every single guy I have dated has lost their minds over the little things. When my husband and I first started dating, I stopped and got him a slushie while I got gas. Not even an extra stop. I just set it in front of him at his apartment and you'd have thought it was the holy grail. When my wife was my girlfriend, she worked at Edible Arrangements. When she's come over to my place after work, she's bring me free bags of fresh fruit and smoothies. My girlfriend came with smoothies. I mean, come on. My GF walks around naked more than my ex-BF. Most guys feel awkward having their parts dangling in the breeze, even if it's with someone who has seen them before. As a man, men who've only dated women before are really easy to impress. I bought my ex dinner a few times and he just about lost his mind because no one had done that for him before. I've heard lesbians say the same thing about women, so I think it's more of a societal expectation thing than anything else. The whole who buys dinner debate still just blows my entire mind. Me and my BF just switch off if we can remember who paid last. Haha, we don't go out that often, and it makes it also much easier to deal with. Nobody really pays more than the other and there isn't some big to do about who's supposed to buy. IDK, I've been be myself my entire life. Don't worry, you're just on stand B. I could share clothes with my girlfriend. Now I just steal my male fiance's clothes. My wife and I shared clothes. I'm a woman. Like we didn't really have separate stuff outside of pants as we were a different size there. Tops, socks, everything else was just ours. It's super awesome sharing clothes. In my experience, relationships with men move a lot slower than relationships with women. In a relationship with a man, we talk for several weeks, then we date for a month before we even discuss defining the relationship. With women, you go on 2 dates, and then she has a drawer at your place. Edit, I'm a woman in my late 20s. I've had 4 girlfriends and 3 boyfriends since I was 15. Edited again, thanks for the gold. What does a lesbian bring to a second date? A U-Haul. I've been informed that this is not a joke. The biggest gender-based difference I've experienced is how other people look at/treat your relationship. Yeah, this. Hetero, I can walk around all day holding hands, occasional kiss, no big deal. Same gender and even holding hands is suddenly an invite for catcalls, verbal abuse and the always terrifying shouts out of moving cars. Social expectations are totally different. Hetero and people can't help but ask about weddings and kids before they even know you. Homo and it's probably a phase, practically no recognition that your partner is even significant to you. That's changing though, getting better bit by bit. Emo. You know the U-Haul lesbian thing. Totally true. I get so close so fast with other women, while for men it took me 3 years to get my now husband warmed up to the idea of marriage. With my ex-girlfriend before him, she was ready to settle down and get married after like 2 months. Otherwise I'd say I actually do prefer relationships with women, but they can get more intense than relationships I've had with men. But that's not always a good thing. I went on 2 dates with a girl and we seriously discussed marriage plus moving to another province together on the second date. It's almost like you fall into a trance. From my experience at least, WLW relationships tend to move faster. I can't explain it. Like, when I was with my ex we were so ride or die since day one, saying I love you after less than a month together. Very intense overall. Also unfortunately, sometimes you get to realize how much bias and prejudice your friends and family might secretly hold. With men, I never had something like that. There were a lot more downtime I guess. Also no fear about having to go out while holding hands or introducing to the family. Although, aside from a few things, I think it's very different overall because people are different. Yeah, no? Like my ex was very extroverted and my BF is very introverted, so the dynamic changes because of that too. Isn't it a stereotype that 2 women who are in a relationship move in together almost right away? If I'm with a guy, I can hold hands with him, and people will he's my boyfriend. If I'm with a woman, I can hold hands with her and people will she's my sister. Bonus points for a guy asking if he can join in whenever you introduce a woman as your girlfriend. Met this B girl in college who told me about how a guy we both were acquainted with said that's kinda sexy. Guys like that. When she told him she was bi, we referred to him as guys like that for the rest of the year when he wasn't in earshot. Like, dude, it's a sexuality. It's not about whether or not guys like it lol. I'm a B woman and to be honest the biggest difference for me is other people's perception of my relationship. When I date men I don't get the same 21 questions from strangers and family members as to why I've made the choice to date that person. Also once when I was dating a woman my step-grandma asked me not to hold her hand or kiss her at Thanksgiving dinner so that it wouldn't confuse the children. They've never asked me to withhold public affection from male partners. I think I've dated more men than women long term because it was the path of least resistance. Do you, as a B woman, have any issues dating a B man? I find women don't accept me at all, and so I often look for B women, but even then there is little acceptance. I'm a B dude. Men, more straightforward, less drama, less head games. Can be really nice, but also not as exciting. Women, less straightforward, more drama, but much bigger emotional payoff when things so work out. Painting with an extremely broad brush here, after having dated several people of both genders. I've had drama Y guys and straightforward girls as well. Some B people think that being with your own gender tends to be more enjoyable sexually because they know what to do already, but I've found that being with the opposite gender is just as enjoyable, with communication and a modicum of practice. I ended up marrying a woman. I'm a bisexual woman and I can thoroughly second this. I would love to know, but I'm a bisexual that never dated anyone before. Edit. Thank you for all the upvotes. I didn't expect to get any, but most importantly, thank you for your advices and support. I needed it. Edit to oh my god, thank you for the wholesome award. It really made my day. Relatable. I've dated more women than men, but both of the guys were way easier and more direct than any of the women were. Sex with a guy is easier to get started. Literally you can be playing video games on the couch and suddenly you're both horny and going for it. Women need more prep time. Generally, it's almost never 0 to 100 in a flash. It's slower to get started and longer to reach the finish, but in my opinion it is more satisfying when you both get there. Culturally it is easier to date women as it isn't immediately seen as taboo by most people. Almost nobody will bat an eye if you kiss as hetero in public, but you'll get a look or two if you're the same gender. These have been my experiences, and in no way do I think it is universal, just the folks that have been nice enough to date me. OMG yes. I'm great at flirting with women, but terrible at keeping romantic relationships with them. I'm female, because after the initial sexy times I'm so shy about reinitiating it tends to just settle back into a close, flirty friendship pattern. Whereas with men I can just start sending signals and they help hit the gas. As a B girl the biggest difference is women are usually more emotionally invested but dramatic. Guys are usually laid back and fun, but not as involved. Can you expand on what you mean by involved? Honestly curious. As a bisexual man, it's awesome to be little spoon and actually fit. I know that's probably not what you're looking for, but it's the first thing that came to mind. B woman here. Sometimes I've big spooned guys despite usually being smaller, and it blows their minds. Down with gendered spoons. I'm a small human. And when I date women they're mostly my size, but men are usually at least 6 taller and have 50 pounds on me. There are a lot of physical differences with cuddling and sex with partners of different sizes. I love that men can pick me up when I want them to, and that I get to feel tiny and safe with men I trust. With women, it's more equal, so we switch back and forth between being the cuddler and the cuddly. Also with women, we usually take turns getting attention and orgasming during sex, whereas with men it's more likely to be just one effort. Neither men nor women can get me off though. That I have to do myself. Drive. Ruth, the sex doc, has some good books about teaching someone you are with how to pleasure you, and also about not masturbating for a while, so you become sensitive to someone else. Just off the top of my head, and noting that everyone is different, There's far more variation between people than between genders. I'm an assertive person by nature and I tend to take charge. When I'm changing a tire and my boyfriend is standing off to the side, we get weird looks. No one blinks if my girlfriend is standing there. Women do more housework without being asked. You have to task manage guys more. My current boyfriend is not like this at all, fortunately. Women are more cautious about personal safety. A lot of them, won't go on walks alone in the dark. I'm a taller woman, 5 feet 8/172 centimeters, and I've done a lot of solo travel, so I'm a lot less cautious than my girlfriends, and sometimes I have to remind myself to be more mindful of their concerns. Even tomboyish women have more elaborate grooming routines compared to most guys. I've had to talk numerous boyfriends out of 3-in-1 body wash/shampoo/conditioner. Women tend to smell really nice. But, honestly, people of all genders are gross, clean, messy, kinky, loud, absent-minded, annoying, brilliant and lovable. Edit, folks, if your partner is demanding you meet grooming/chore expectations they themselves won't meet, maybe don't date that person. You are worth so much, and you deserve an equal. A partner who wants you to shave everything and do 90% of the housework is not actually a partner. Take care. You are a hero from saving those poor things from the clutches of 3-1s. I found men are more direct, but women show more non-sexual affection. Deleted. Bisexual women here. Women actually were usually hornier and easier to talk about sex with, but could also be very emotionally demanding. Men are hot in a rough kind of way and are kinda easier to make them happy. Currently dating a kind of girly guy. Gender roles completely out the window, which makes me very happy. I'm a B guy and found that men are usually hornier, but women are definitely easier to talk to about sex. Specifically, what makes sex sexy. With guys you just go from 0 to 60, but there's no deeper talk about it. I'm a very masculine dude, but I'm definitely kinda girly personality wise. I'm a bottom with guys, so that's probably where some of that comes from. I'm married to an amazing woman now, and gender roles are completely out the window too, both in and out of the bedroom. It's so liberating. Equity in a relationship is amazing. I think the experience is going to be much different for a B dude as opposed to a B chick. Straight girls won't date me cause they thought it'd leave them for a guy. Gay guys won't date me cause they thought it'd leave them for a girl. B woman here. My relationships with women have always been more emotionally rewarding, as the girls I've known tend to be more open about their emotions. So I'm not left guessing where we are at. Only drawback is homophobic people judging the relationship. My relationships with guys have been less deep sadly, even though I've tried. It feels like trying to squeeze blood out of a stone, trying to get the guys I've known to just be direct about what they want, leading me to think I have better luck and happiness with other women rather than men, even though I find them just as attractive as women. I'm also not a fan of gender roles and feel far more pressure dating a guy to be submissive and passive, and I'm neither of those things. It's a bummer. It makes me realize why so many people, even B people, think dating people of their own gender is just easier. I once asked my straight friend about his relationship and I took his advice to heart. He also asked me about being gay. I'm B, but identify as gay. Here is the summary of our response. In my hetero relationship, my wife is all the things I'm not. She is sensitive, deep, thoughtful, loving, caring, and completes me in ways I can't complete myself. My response: my boyfriends amplify my weak areas, making me more stronger, picking me up when I need it, and are great at getting me to push myself in my career, life, and overall goals. We are friends and lovers, and are more direct about our feelings and desires. I thought both were amazing, because one is about the opposite and one is about the same, just more. One is about filling in the gaps in personality, the other about amplifying what's already there. Being a bottom with men and wanting women to top you are two very different things. Yes, whole leeches, you hit the nail on the head. With a hetero relationship, there are a lot of gender-based options. The dude drives and kills the bugs. The woman remembers that they're out of milk and arranges social things. It's not always true, but even then it feels like you're breaking the norm and different. With gays there is much less expectations. Chores tend to be distributed evenly. Who kills the bugs is sometimes both or neither. God yes. This was such a welcome change in my WLW relationship. Finally an equal partner on all things. To me, girls always tend to just be softer and smell nicer. Edit. Whole leeches, thanks for the award, stranger. Girls always tend to just be softer, I mean, there is science for that, if I'm not mistaken. The structure of women's skin etc makes it literally softer in comparison to guys. Edit. Subcutaneous fat, and the relative lack of testosterone makes it very difficult to build large tough muscles. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not into biology much, but I recall reading something about this. My ex-BF got pussy when I pointed out someone was attractive. My ex-GF would wake me up to show me the hot people in her porn lol. Currently in the latter relationship. It's awesome. There are more differences between people of the same gender than between genders in my experience. I've had relationships with men, women, and people somewhere in between, and I think there aren't huge differences between men and women like most Storm. That being said, the majority of people I've dated have been queer in some way, so IDK if that changes things. This has been true for me as well. Doesn't matter the gender, fear not into me back. Pity +1 granted. As a guy I found I get more excited for Christmas when I date guys rather than girls because it's a mutual want and desire. You get to share most things, clothes and video games. Women are sweeter and love little gestures more than guys. Like when I do the dishes or make supper or clean the house, they get super appreciative. Guys just brush it off or don't notice those kind of efforts. Don't worry, straight guys don't notice those house cleaning efforts either. I can't borrow my boyfriend's clothes and shoes as easily lol. Never had a girl break up with me for not being heterosexual enough, but have had multiple dudes break up with me for not being gay enough. I've had the exact opposite happen to me. Mayo, the best just can't win. This is just my personal experience. It may just be the guys I've dated, but I've always wondered if other women have experienced this. It's hard to put into words. Dating straight men as a woman, in my experience, means somehow so much more of the domestic labor, organizing, cleaning, cooking etc. and emotional labor like initiating communication on issues, caring for day-to-day health and safety, that kind of stuff. It just seems to fall to you, the woman, or is just expected of you to do more, despite your conversations and communication with the man. In my experience, because of their gender, most men just miss an education on or awareness of these things in the way that women get it. Oftentimes you have to teach a man these things. With women it's so much more of an equal partnership and way less need to convince them to work equally with you. In the end, in my personal experience, the men I've dated are more emotional labor and just plain more labor. This has been my exact experience as well. Another thing I noticed is that with sex with a man, I'm the default object of desire. It's kind of a role you're just put in. You're the woman, so you're the sexy one. Where with a woman, I didn't really feel that dynamic, if that makes sense. It was just so much more equal. It's like how another person wrote that the overall roles are different. With a woman I was just kind of a partner in things, sometimes even taking the stronger role in situations. But with a man, even being seen as a partner, I still am smaller, take a more delicate role, and I'm also constantly pulling teeth to get any help with cleaning the house. I have to say though, being with a woman involved so much talking. Always talking feelings out, always processing feelings. And I totally appreciate that, and love open and constructive communication. But my god, I can't deal with all of the feelings all the time about everything. Men are more predictable. Deleted. In my experience there's less jealousy having a relationship with a man. When in with a woman, they all seem so insecure about literally everyone equal / I guess the guys didn't feel threatened by my female friends. Straight guy here who has dated a couple of bi women, and in my experience the bi women were considerably less insecure than the straight women I have dated. Trying to work that one into your equation now. Men have scratchy faces. Honestly, I feel like the smaller things are much more interesting here. like who wants to cuddle more, and how cuddling feels with people of different genders. Who do you feel more safe with? Physically and emotionally? What are the small things that happen, or that they do occasionally, or in their day-to-day life? How do their gestures of love differ? How do they express their love? How does sex feel like for the different genders? Which one's more fun? Which one feels like they've got more to offer for you personally? Who gives better marriages? Do they feel different? What chores do they prefer? Which useful skills do they display? How do they act around friends? How easily do they get jealous? It's all highly subjective, of course, but there's so much interesting stuff to dig into. These answers here so far seem kinda shallow, trying to find the one biggest difference. The details are what makes it interesting. I'll bite. Be dude here, like who wants to cuddle more, and how cuddling feels with people of different genders. Honestly, I just ducking love to cuddle no matter the gender. But I would say that with a guy it's more sexual, but with a woman it's more sensual, if that makes sense. Who do you feel more safe with? Physically and emotionally? Guys for me, at least in a romantic sense. What are the small things that happen, or that they do occasionally, or in their day-to-day life? I tend to appreciate women who do acts of service for me. Cooking me food is one of my favorites, and I love to cook food for my so's. I also love it when girlfriends wear my clothes. I don't know why it's not the same with a guy. I like it when boyfriends play video games with me, I guess. I don't know, this one is hard. How do their gestures of love differ? How do they express their love? Men unequivocally more physically for me, more touching, grabbing, etc. Women seem to be a bit more varied, there's more of a balance between words, gifts, acts, physical touch. How does sex feel like for the different genders? Which one's more fun? Which one feels like they've got more to offer for you personally? Sex feels incredibly different between the two. The prep work for it, the length of pre-foreplay, the amount of time spent in foreplay, sex positions, how long we have sex, etc. I personally find males more fun sexually, however I think that I actually enjoy good hetero sex more. This is really hard to explain. I just feel so much more satisfied in more facets. I guess I think it's because I don't inherently mesh as well with women sexually, but when I do, it's amazing. Who gives better marriages? Do they feel different? What chores do they prefer? Which useful skills do they display? Men absolutely give better marriages for me. Stronger, more broad hands generally. It's more comforting for me. I'm not sure on the chores, because I've only ever shared a space with a girlfriend, not a boyfriend. Same for skills. Most of the girls I date tend to be retail/waitresses, so they have some cooking skills. Most of the guys I date tend to be more white-collar office folks, although recently I've been dating doctor/healthcare workers for both, so I dunno. How do they act around friends? How easily do they get jealous? Girlfriends get more jealous than boyfriend, but confrontations with boyfriends over jealousy are definitely worse. I have a bit of jealous streak in me too, so that flares up real bad with boyfriends more than girlfriends. In general, there's good and bad in both sexes. Many are shocked to know that abuse and toxicity can come from both sexes, but both can also give loving and fulfilling relationships too. For me, it would be that women can be a little bit more impulsive emotionally and more adventurous. Women also hint a lot more than men. Women are also a bit more cuddly. Boobs are commonly used as pillows. Men are more predictable. They hint far less and are more likely to just tell you exactly like it is. When they are upset or angry, they definitely voice it most of the time. Can be a little more difficult to get out of their shell. For some reason, some men don't like their being smacked or groped by the opposite sex. I'm a dude and I would always feel loved when my GF smacked. Haha. I tend to be able to insult guys and joke around with guys more than I can with girls. Just gotta find the right girl. I'm a bisexual woman and can't date anyone who I can't roast and be roasted by in return. It's just no fun otherwise. The women I dated were generally harder to get to understand. They often said things, but meant something different. The man I'm dating now just won't say things at all. I guess with both you never know what they're saying. Dating is fun. I always have to ask my BF what his opinion and thoughts are because he will say so little. One day he told me he thinks he was just never really asked for his opinion a lot while growing up. I don't know if this is a gender difference, but maybe men just don't discuss their perspective and opinion with their friends as much. As a woman, I found that most men who find out MB or MIM constantly down for a freeway, and most women or MIM just straight and experimenting with them for a while. A B woman with that username. Your inbox must be fun. My ex-GF told me to wait outside her work once, and when she came out, she handed me a keychain that said "You are my son." I probably acted like I was uninterested, but truth be told, I didn't know how to act. I mean, I immediately put it on my keys and told her thank you, but deep inside, I felt bad because I was one hell of a broke boy at that time. We broke up a few months later due to her sister having more pressing issues. I still have it. It broke, but I still have all the pieces. I used to play with the keychain every time I thought of her. The middle of it's worn out. This really plucked some heartstrings. I'm a fabso. In general, women understand certain experiences of mine better. For example, they know what it's like to be catcalled or to be nervous alone with a man. I can just say that someone yelled at me while I was walking down the street, and my partner probably would understand why that made me nervous and won't judge me for it. If I'm dating a man, I have to explain why a situation made me uncomfortable, and then he may or may not think my reaction was reasonable. Pardon my ignorance, but what does a fab mean? I'm legitimately spending 90% of my time trying to work out the gender of each person commenting on this thread. It's incredibly hard without context. With a man, we duck. With a woman, I gotta buy her chiz first. Are you sure you're not ducking a prostitute? Because I haven't had to buy women something to get sex myself. Men and women are socialized to behave differently, so you need to watch out for different sets of red flags. For men, I need to carefully select for a man who respects me as an intellectual equal, who can allow me to take charge without feeling threatened, and will pull their weight with chores. For women, I need to carefully select for a woman who will be upfront with me about her preferences, and who will take charge occasionally. More cuddling and daily sweetnesses with women relationships, also less infidelity with females, at least in my personal experience. Men have been more protecting of me physically, from harm or threat. I also simply felt safer walking down the street at night with my ex-husband. Men killed the spiders, women carried them outside on a magazine while saying, hoo hoo. I found the women that I've been with are a lot more capable of having grown-up conversations and communicating respectfully than the men. That being said, up until my now husband, all the guys I've dated were stereotypical righeads and the girls were all pretty mature. As a bisexual male, the common differences for me include how my personality / dynamic shifts when dating a man vs dating a woman, what I crave in bed. To go over the first bullet, I tend to be more effeminate when dating a man, mostly due to feeling more delicate. I feel like I could be treated rather than have to always treat. In a relationship with females, societal norms / pressures and my ducking parents tend to have me come off as a more masculine figure. In bed, I'm usually the dom with woman, in contrast to being a switch with a man. Regardless of the shameless chivalry pressures that stem from a heterosexual relationship, I still very much can enjoy relationships with women. In bed, I don't really like her on a guy, but on a girl, I'm a sucker. I'm a big fan of cock, and it doesn't matter if it's a guy or a pre-op trans woman. Cock is cock. I also like female boobs and abs on men, although I do really like twinks also. Honestly, I'm such a horny duck. However, I'm monogamous, regardless of my sex drive. To each his one's own, as my sexuality can be very fluid at times. Who am I to approve and disapprove of others? If you're a poly B, be the proudest damn poly B you can be. This is unique to my feelings, but I've never felt that strong emotional connection with a man as I have with a woman. Maybe it's unspoken fear of social rejection, or that I haven't met the right man, but I just don't see myself settling down with another man. Sorry. Don't be sorry for how you feel. It's perfectly valid to feel a certain way and have preferences. Biggest difference, as a B female, is that 9/10 times you're a man's only emotional sounding board, whereas that emotional burden is shared amongst a woman's close friends and yourself. In my experience, I've found men are emotionally more fragile as a result, because they don't have that broad emotional support as a stabilizer. I, male, never thought about it this way before. I know I generally don't share feelings, because it's frowned upon and many women lose interest when you do open up, but maybe this is why it was especially hard with my ex. Not only is it hard when the person you're with shuts you down emotionally, it's hard when one of your few options to share emotions with shuts you down emotionally. I feel less masculine when I ask a woman to hone my balloon not with a strap on. You/brand my sentence. Men are much simpler and straightforward, but women are much better at reading between the lines and picking up on nonverbal communication. I completely agree. I never had to tell women that something was going on with me. They could tell straight away. However, I have to say that my current BF is very good at picking stuff up too, but I think that just comes with the duration of a relationship. At a certain point he just learned to read me very well. I think most women can do it from the start, but men can definitely learn it over time. As a man, I never thought twice about holding my girlfriend's hand in public, but deciding to hold my boyfriend's hand was nerve-wracking at times. Girls are choosy, guys are everywhere and much more willing. When you kiss a girl it's soft. Kissing a dude is scratchy or sometimes sharp. Girls use nice smelling shower gels and perfume. Every single guy seems to soak in a pool of the same sports deodorant. They found out about our secret underground pool of sports deodorant. Evacuate the premises immediately. Women help out around the house more, as ducked up as that is. Guys tend to be more straightforward, but tend to be more emotionally immature. They also tend to keep more information to themselves. The upside is, they'll be more willing to take the initiative when it comes to the relationship. Ladies tend to be more complex, but more emotionally available. They tend to plan ahead more, and are less prone to initiate actions that lead to uncertainty in a relationship. However, they tend to be more supportive of hobbies and experiences that don't interfere negatively with the relationship. I'd love to write something pithy and sexy, but really? Distribution of chores. I'm messy and disabled, but I also always ended up doing the overwhelming majority of household work and cooking in MF relationships. Even with guys who think they are enlightened. With FF, the option hasn't been there for me, so we've had discussions about divvying up chores. The gender norms become so clear when you have a contrast between the relationships. When I, 25F, am dating men, I naturally find myself becoming more submissive and viewing my partner as, in part, a protector. Back when I was only dating men, I thought this was just what romance felt like. But dating women feels so different, and in my opinion, better. It feels like your true partner, equal best friend. You don't subconsciously slide into gender roles so much. I'm a femme who dates femmes. Not sure if it's different when there's a butch/femme dynamic. With a woman I'm so much more dominant, like there's no trace of my bisexuality at all, in mental, physical and sexual situations. I tend to hide my sexuality from women, even though most don't care or even find it more attractive when a man is comfortable with himself. I'm also pretty masculine generally, behavior and looks wise. So it just goes over their heads, but with men I'm submissive in all situations like I mentioned. I'm the complete opposite between both, and I honestly love it. I can experience both sides of myself. It's not gender specific, but person specific. Plus your equations with both of them, and their relationship too. More or less, it's family and various role plays in different situations. As a B woman has stated about the same amount of men and women, the main differences are definitely in the way my relationships are perceived. When I'm seeing a woman, my family will refer to her as my friend and act like it doesn't count as a relationship. But if I'm seeing a man, they'll ask when we're going to get married or make grandchildren. Strangers feel entitled to make comments or hit on one or both of us if I'm with a woman, when that absolutely never happens with men. I've never dated a man who's been to therapy or had the slightest interest in doing so, but literally every woman has been either in therapy or actively invested in their own emotional work and personal growth. Every man I've ever dated has expressed fantasies about seeing me pregnant with their child. Women have rarely been interested in having children with me, and if they have, that interest was mostly geared towards building a life together, rather than on seeing me pregnant. Men have tended to be very carefree about their living situations. Mattress on the floor, constant piles of dirty dishes in the sink, no soap in the bathroom, whereas women in my experience have typically put a lot more care into the cleanliness and livability of their homes. Getting my period when I'm with a man usually means I have to go out and buy supplies. My current boyfriend keeps a box of tampons in his bathroom for visitors, but has an anomaly, and sex is usually out of the question. Women will offer tea, a heating pad, and painkillers and still be totally DTF. I've used psychedelics and empathogens with most of my partners. Men tend to be a lot more laid back and spontaneous about doing them with me, while women tend to be much more careful and hesitant, and need to plan ahead a lot more to make sure it's the right time and setting. The experience with women is usually much deeper and more bonding for us as a couple, whereas with men we tend to have our own individual experiences parallel to each other. Damn. The difference in women being invested in their emotional growth really got me. I'm so tired of having to encourage men to talk about how they feel, or stop drinking so much, or think about how what they do affects me. This makes me really want to attempt dating a woman. I live in the South, and have really only sorta dated a woman, never have given it a full go because compulsive heterosexuality. Thanks for that. The problem with this thread is that some people had 1 or 2 relationships with people of one gender, but generalize their behaviors to the whole gender. That's the problem with all threads about relationships, straight or otherwise. As a bi guy, it's easier being with men, because I understand them more. I believe this is the case for bi women too. I'm a woman who doesn't understand women. I barely used to understand myself. It's like living in a 4D puzzle. I don't understand men that well either, but men don't expect me to, and they'll often kindly spell it out, which is nice. The girls I've dated have always immediately respected my sexuality without question. Thank God for no gold star lesbian BS, but every guy I hooked up with / dated has said something along the lines of how they don't consider me actually queer. I identify queer / bisexual, BC. I'm in a hetero relationship with them at the moment. A few men I've dated have acted kind of condescendingly towards me in the past. If it wasn't obvious, I'm a woman, but with women the vibe can be super different. With men I often feel like I have to constantly be on my toes and prove that I'm intelligent and capable. With women things are a lot more relaxed, and we are able to just joke and talk about nothing. I do think of myself as a pretty intelligent person. I have 2 uni degrees, but my god, at some of the men I've dated, not every goddamn conversation has to be intellectual. I don't know if that's a man / woman thing. Sounds like just an asshole thing to me. Being in a same-sex relationship means that every little thing, like hand-holding or a kiss, is a political statement, but when in a hetero relationship those same things are pretty much invisible. As a woman, I find that having sex with a guy is a lot less work than having sex with a girl. For me, the role in the relationship. With women, I was mainly the strong one. I was there to help, to provide. I had to be strong for them, and had to be mature to make the decisions. Been with my boyfriend for 4 years this year and I feel like we are a lot more equal. Although that could be the people I've dated, not the gender, but that's what I've taken from them. I'm a straight guy, but I don't really understand why the man or the woman need to have specific roles in the relationship to begin with. Guys have lower standards. Never dated a girl. If I'm walking around holding hands with a man, other men respect that and hardly even look at me. If I'm walking around holding hands with another woman, it's catcalls, seedy stares, and propositions galore. I've only seen a couple of women and dated / had relationships with many men. Even from that, the clear difference was definitely an effort put into the relationship. I had girls I saw for a couple of dates treat me better than guys I was with for months lol, but I've dated incredibly chisty guys, so not really a fair comparison lol. Men used to be much more selfish and emotionally manipulative in a way that they expected to be nurtured and taken care of, but would not offer nearly as much back. Women were less straightforward, but as a woman I found it not as hard to maneuver that. They always put so much more of themselves into the relationship and did much more, for example, of small signs of attention or love. I felt that women loved me much more unselfishly. Men always expected something in return and were never ready to go an extra mile while wanting me to do so. Men are easy to understand. They're easy to seduce. Women take a lot more work, emotionally and seduction wise, in my experience. Close bracket. Throwaway account for the sexy answers to this question. Women want sex less often than men, but the sex is more intense. More roleplay, scenes, and we are more likely to both orgasm. Women tend to be better at going down. I'm a lady, but I've had more guys be obsessed with it, so it balances out. Guys are more likely to scratch me while fingering me. Ow. I come most of the time when I'm with a woman, about half the time when I'm with a man. Guys don't seem to mind if I don't get off, but women will work hard to make me come after they come. Lots of people have sensitive nipples. Guys, it's worth trying. Let your partner lick them if you both want. Sex with women tends to get messier due to sheer volume of fluids. Oh, and periods. I would have thought sex with men would be messier when I was a virgin, but ejaculate is easy enough to crawl. Open to any questions. I have dated equally both men and women. 3 men are more relaxed and easier to be around, but have no emotional intelligence, especially during that time of the month. Girls are a little more dramatic, and I've found have cheated a lot more than men. 2 out of 3, but are much more romantic and emotionally available. / emotionally stable / cheat. Personally, I've noticed women are more sensitive and willing to work things out more. Also way better at picking up on subconscious cues and expressions. Men tend to be more aggressive with how they approach situations, more or less wanting instant results / answers. But they are better at not holding a grudge or resentment towards problems in the relationship. I haven't dated enough women to really compare, but the women I've dated have always had a higher libido than the men I've dated. I've never had a dead bedroom situation with either men or women, but my ex-girlfriends were always in the mood when I asked, and would more often than not be the first to initiate. Whereas I have to be the one initiating with the men I've dated. As a bisexual of Reddit, I too would like to know what it is like to date people. Pansexual woman here. Dated quite a few women and some men. I would say one of the biggest differences is that I could not be as open with a woman as I'm with a man right now. That comes down to the act that in my country, Armenia, a neighbor of Turkey and Georgia, standing under the umbrella of LGBTQ community, was a huge deal. Luckily I'm in Germany now, so suck a bag $$ $KS everyone. Back to more casual differences. 1. My GFS would be a little more comfortable with their bodies around me. I don't know why, maybe because I was a woman myself, and they weren't too shy to show me their bodies. 2. I personally felt way more dominant with women, and way more submissive with men. But that is just me. 3. Men, in my particular case, were way more insecure, jealous and controlling, since I'm a pansexual, and that means to them that I have more cheating opportunities. F0 king weird. 4. Men would find the fact that I have slept with women really hot and would ask me to have threesomes with them all the time. Women would be more monogamous. 5. It was weirdly easier to hook up with a woman rather than with a man. Women felt a lot more curious and playful, whereas men would feel really insecure, given the fact I'm not the most experienced with sex. That is really weird to me. P.S. Anything I said above about men doesn't have anything to do with my current boyfriend. He is a literal angel. I was not generalizing every woman or a man. Anything I stated above was strictly from my own experience and how I feel. I feel like with girls, compliments and gifts are expected, but with guys, they light up completely when you do the smallest thing for them or say their hair looks nice. Both are cute, though. I'm 18 years old, and I have had 4 relationships with girls and 2 with boys. And the main difference is that boys tend to be more affectionate, while girls tend to seek dominance more. Yes, I know that the normal thing in society is usually the other way around, but this is what happened to me. I can picture that. Oh my, you watched until the end? That's fucking awesome, dude. Thanks for watching.